Hello, in this presentation we will set up new employees within QuickBooks Online. Here we are on the QuickBooks Online dashboard. We will be continuing with the Get Great Guitars problem. If you've been working along with us, that's great. If not, we'll be entering payrolls at this time, or not payroll, we'll be entering employees at this time. To do that, we're going to go to the left-hand side and we're going to go down here to the employees section on the left-hand side. Now at this time we don't have the payroll set up, but the adding of employees will be the same either way. What we're going to do is go down to this icon here and say we want to add an employee. And it's going to say need pay employees. We're going to say not right now. We're not going to set it up. If we go over here, it's going to go through our payroll options. We're going to say go to the employee setup. What we now have is the employee information tab, and this is going to be including all of the personal information for the employee and some of the billable information for the employee. What we do not have right here is going to be the withholding type of information, things we typically get from the W-4. We would have to pay for the service in order to implement that information. At this time, we're just going to be entering the employee data for a new employee in terms of their personal information. The other information related to payroll is something that we typically get from the W-4. This is the information that would differ depending on how we're going to be setting up the payroll, whether it be in QuickBooks or through a third party. Either way we do it, we're still going to have to look at this information so that we enter it into our system, as we'll do later, either in terms of the payroll process to actually process the payroll and calculate the withholdings, or in terms of a third-party software where we still have to take that information and put it into the system. So if you've seen the W-4, this is basically going to be a form we file whenever we have a new employee. And in essence, it's going to have the employee tell us their information, typically a lot of their personal information that we'll put on this form, including the name, social security number one, and would get from this form, the W-4. But it's also going to include the number of exemptions and the marital status, two key components that we will need in order to process payroll. The components needed to process payroll include the payroll status, married or single. It includes the number of exemptions, which kind of coincides. You can think of them kind of like the exemptions that will be on the 1040, meaning we get an exemption for ourselves and any dependents. But that's not going to be exactly the same. In any case, we need that information in order to calculate what the payroll withholding amount will be. That typically comes from the W-4. Let's go back to filling in the data into QuickBooks. This will go through our screens that we need to set up in order to get payroll up and running. So we'll start through here, and it's good to just get practice with the data input to just use the tab button. So I'm going to start up at the top left and just tab through it. I'm not going to put a title. We're going to tab. I'm going to put the first name. It's going to be Adam. I'm going to tab through no middle name, and I'll put the last name as Hamilton. And that's how we have it spelled here. So and then we're going to say that's good. And then the display name will then show here. We could select the drop down if we want to display it at a different format, such as last name, comma, first name. Then we'll scroll through here. We're going to say, we'll tab through to the street address, and we'll add the street address. Obviously, this will be a fictitious person and street address. We're going to say 1423 2nd Street. And we'll have the city of New York. And we're going to have the state and the zip code. We'll keep scrolling through here. Email, we're not going to have an email address. That's going to be useful if you want to keep that email address, of course, on your records. It's not required, however, in order to process payroll. So we're going to leave that blank. Phone number, same thing. We would want to have that in our database program, however, not generally required for the processing of payroll. Mobile phone, something to have good information to have. Billable rate. This is not the rate that we're going to pay the employee. It's the rate that we're going to bill the employee if we're to make it an invoice based on their billable time. We're not going to have anything there at this point. It doesn't really have to do with payroll necessarily. It has more to do with the invoicing based on this employee time. We then have the employee ID number. That's going to be the social security number for the US, which will be 565655665. Obviously, that's a made-up social security number, but it would be in that format if it was a social security. ID number we don't have at this point. We're going to say the gender, male. And then we have the hire date. We're going to say the first month of our operations, which is January 01/01/21. So 01/01/21. Then we're going to have, and there's not a release date, meaning they're still with us. And then we're going to have the date of birth, which we're going to say is 09/05/79. 09/05/79. So, okay, so that's going to be our information here. We're going to say save. So when we save that, of course, we see in our employees section our new employee. We're going to add one more and go through this process one more time. To do that, we'll select the add an employee up here in the upper right. We're going to say not right now at this point. And we're going to go through this process again, just tabbing through here. Once again, I practiced tabbing through. I was going to say tab. First name is going to be Erica, tab. Last name, tab, last name, Robertson. That's how we spelled it. All right, tab. And then once again, the default, we're going to keep the default as what it is. We could check another common writing last name, common first name. We'll keep this as it is. We're going to type in the street address and the address. We're going to put this at 4 East 2nd Street. And the city, we're going to put New York. State, New York, zip code 10003. County, no notes. Email. Once again, nice information to have, not necessary for the processing of payroll, good to have in a database program. However, same with the phone number and email. Billing rate, remember, is our billing rate that we would put on the invoice if we were using their time to create the invoice of what we would charge a customer. Then we're going to have the employee number, in our case, Social Security number. So we will put the 454545544, which obviously is a fictitious number. We don't have an ID at this point. We're going to say female. The hire date, once again, we're going to say 01/01/21. That's the first date that we're going to be starting operations here in our practice problem. That's why we're going to put it on the first date of operations. Release date, we don't have one. She's still with us. And we're going to say date of birth is going to be 12/31/1979. So December 31st, 79. We're going to go ahead and save that information, and that will give us our 2 employees here. Now that we have these here, they will be listed in our employees, and if we want to see the information about our employees, we can go in here and we can see that information. We can add any notes that we want to into this section. And if we wanted to see a report based on this, we can see reports as well, listing the employees that we currently have by going to the reports section. And there's different reports we could run. We just want an information list in terms of who the employees are. So we could have an employee contact list that we're going to take a look at. So we'll select the contact list, and this will give us the employee contact information. Now obviously we have limited information here, just the 2 employees. We didn't put in the phone number and the email and whatnot, but this will give us our contact list, our contact information, and if we had put those information in, we would have those listed here. We're going to go ahead and export this to Excel. So we're going to select the export, and we will export to Excel. Obviously, you could do this for a quick PDF file too. That's another way to have the PDF file. I'm going to keep going to Excel. I like the idea of processing to Excel because some of the reports that we process to Excel, we can then adjust after they're in Excel, and that could be a useful tool in many cases. We will then enable the editing. So I'm going to say enable editing, and let's put this on the screen. And so it looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. We're going to go to File and Save As. We'll browse and look for the location that we want to put this in. I'm going to put it in something called Excel 6 documents. Now again, we probably could get rid of the name, but this could be useful depending on who we are giving this information to. If it's always our company, we know it's Get Great Guitars, we can remove the Get Great Guitars, put just the employees. Might be useful to actually put a date to when you're starting to export these things, because that'll give you a contact list by the date that you generated the contact list. But we're going to go ahead and save as the default here. There we have our 2 employees.